It's all been leading to this. Hey guys, JamesMCD Reviews here. Welcome to another action-packed episode of JamesMCD's Friday Nightmare. And today we will be taking a look at the culmination of the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises, the biggest, most ambitious crossover event of the 2000s, Freddy vs. Jason, released in 2003, directed by Ronnie Yu. This movie has been in development hell since 1987. Back when Friday the 13th Part 7 was being written, there were talks of bringing in Freddy Krueger and having a crossover and having them face each other, but Paramount and New Line Cinema couldn't agree on a script. It took ages before eventually New Line acquired the rights for the Friday the 13th series, and even then it still took them another like 10 plus years to agree on a script. But after all that time, two of the biggest horror icons of the 80s were brought together to see who was the best. In this movie, Freddy Krueger has become powerless because the people of Elm Street have forgotten about him and are no longer scared of him. So he goes to hell and brings Jason back from the dead to strike fear into the hearts of the Elm Street kids so that he will be remembered again. Things start to go wrong as Freddy starts losing more and more victims to Jason, so he decides to get his revenge, and it's a fight to see which slasher is superior. I really liked this movie. I know it's really stupid and really cartoony and like has a whole lot of problems, but like I think maybe it's because like going through this entire franchise and getting it more and more attached to these two horror icons, and like I guess seeing the culmination of this both of these franchises, like I guess this is what, like, you know, Marvel felt like for so many people when Endgame showed up. It was like seeing these two big names in horror having their paths cross and then like seeing them face off. Like, even if it's got a really bad story and really lame dialogue and bad effects, like you kind of find yourself giving it a pass because you just want to see these two titans collide. And honestly, if that's all you want, then you will most likely enjoy this movie. And I got a lot of enjoyment out of this movie. I really liked the story is what you'd expect. I mean, like, I guess it seems to be taking place immediately after Jason Goes to Hell, but before Jason X. So like there's a little bit of wiggle room to like sort of bend stuff around in terms of continuity, but I mean, neither one of these series has been like super great about keeping continuity, so that's really like the least of my concern. The characters, the victims at least, are fine. They're typical like slasher movie victims. The performances were alright, the dialogue was kind of trash, like it's basically what you'd expect from a movie like this. I did like seeing Jason Ritter in this movie. Those who don't know, he plays Dipper on Gravity Falls, which means he is now 2 for 2 in fights against dream demons, which is pretty cool. It would have been cool to see like some other like legacy characters from the Nightmare series and the Friday series make appearances, but they probably just didn't have the budget to, or didn't want to. They were going to bring Betsy Palmer back for the flashback at the beginning with Jason's mom, but she didn't want to, which is completely fair. One thing that did stir up a lot of controversy was they recast Kane Hodder as Jason, but it was really because the director wanted someone who looked a little bit taller and like stockier and like looked a lot more imposing in comparison to Freddy, which, I mean, I get it in terms of the context, but I don't know, it still would have been cool, especially considering this is Robert Englund's last movie as Freddy Krueger. I don't know, it would have been cool to see, you know, the person who is Freddy Krueger paired up with the person who is the most closely associated with the role of Jason Voorhees. Like, I feel like that would have made fans really happy. It does take a bit to get into, like, the meat of the plot, and especially getting to them fighting, but when it does get into it, it is unapologetically cartoony, and I enjoyed it for that exact reason. Like, the special effects are... they're pretty bad. Like, a lot of the stuff of them, like, flying through the air, and, like, there's even moments, like, when he brings Jason into the dream world and starts playing pinball and, like, throwing him around the boiler room and stuff like that. Like, that stuff can get really silly. The final battle, like, has a lot of really cartoonish moments where they're, like, just chucking, like, construction equipment at each other. To an extent, like I get a lot of people are like, oh, the effects are terrible, but in retrospect, like, it was probably good that they held off on this movie until the 2000s, when special effects and especially CGI were starting to become more clean and more mainstream. Because if this took place in, like, the 80s or 90s, like, I don't know if it would have looked nearly as, like, impressive or cool as what you'd expect. Yeah, the scenes of the two of them fighting are cool. They do a good job of, like, posing a good threat to each other. Like, I like that they don't, like, nerf either one of them, and they both give each other moments to shine. The only thing that was kind of frustrating, and I'm sure this kind of frustrated people who saw it when it came out, was that there wasn't really a confirmed winner. Like, it ends with a very, like, dumb cliffhanger of Jason walking out of the lake, holding Freddy's head, and then Freddy looks in the camera and winks. It's like, fuck you. Like, don't pull a my mom's name's Martha and make them both win at the end. Like, people want to come because they want to see a definitive winner, but I don't know. There was apparently talks of a sequel, but they weren't able to make it happen. But yeah, is this movie over the top? Yes. Is this movie stupid? Yes. Are there a lot of problems? Yes. But ultimately, those are kind of secondary when you just look at the movie as what it is. It's two popular horror icons coming together and fighting each other. And that's all it really needed to be. And it did a good job at delivering on that. So I would highly recommend, I mean, if you're a fan of both franchises, or if you're just getting into them like I am and you've done this whole binge watch, like, you're gonna want to watch this anyway just to see where it's all been leading to. But if you haven't yet, definitely give it a watch. I think it was definitely worth the investment. And going to my ranking, I would have to give this a 3.5 out of 5. And that does it for another episode of the Friday Nightmare. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Freddy vs. Jason when you saw it. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you think it lived up to all the hype? And was it worth the wait? And were you Team Freddy or Team Jason when it came out? And also let me know what horror icons would you like to see get in a fight with each other? That's a really good question I'd like to pose. And while this may be the end for the original Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street continuities, we do still have 2 more episodes of the Friday Nightmare to get through as we take a look at the 2009 Friday the 13th remake and the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street remake. But I'm gonna save those for the last 2 days of October. So it'll be a little Halloween special, because tomorrow we've got a different kind of Freddy to look at. So until then, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on when I'm posting. Follow me on my social media, subscribe to my main channel. Everything you need to know will be in the description. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you later.